going on, Jerome's? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day out there to those who celebrate. It's time for another Vikings news dump. He sees you when you're pooping. That's right, man. So, since Vikings fans can't shut the hell up about Kyle Hamilton, did you know that Quakes are going to take Kyle Hamilton in 2022, but then decided to trade down with the Lions and then took Lucien at 32, and then Lucien broke his leg and hasn't paid out? Did you know that? But yes, Kyle Hamilton has emerged as one of the best safeties in the game. So we decided to right the wrongs. I feel like Scott Bakula in Quantum Leap. So the Vikings take Tyler Nubin, the best safety in this class. Minnesota Golden Gopher. That's right. Sky you ma, sky your face, sky your mom. Nubin. Kyle Hamilton adjacent? Sure. So the Vikings make a deal with the Bears, setting 11, 23, 108, 129, 157, 167, 177, 230, 232, future first, future third, future fourth, future fifth, and future fifth, and Lucien for number one for Tyler Nubin. So there. Everyone shut the hell up. Also, I love that even though this is graded F, the draft rank is top 100% of Vikings drafts. I love it. I love it, man. Some I don't love. So the Vikings schedule in 2024. So we know who the opponents are, but schedule will come out after the draft. But in terms of strength of schedule, Warren Sharp over at Sharp Football put this together, and the Vikings 28th in the league, or AKA the fifth hardest schedule in the league based off of Vegas forecasts of win totals. Now the Vikings are forecast for 6.5 wins, so. But look at the Vikings. So teams with the easiest schedule: Falcons, the Chargers, the Bears, the Jets, the Saints. Cool, awesome. Projected to have the hardest schedules: Steelers are the toughest, Patriots 2, Browns 3, Ravens 4, and then the Vikings at 5. Now, which isn't really. The Patriots are interesting because the Patriots are ass, thank you, but they end up with a hard schedule, so it is what it is. Now, part of it is the rotation, and part of it is the strength of your own division, because so Vikings obviously have multiple games against the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears, and everyone is hyping up the Bears because of Caleb Williams. Everyone's on the Lions' ass, and everyone is on the Packers' ass, so that certainly does play in with the Vikings. And then in terms of rotation, so the Vikings play the AFC South this year. Texans are hot. That's basically about it there. I mean, the Colts, Jaguars, Tennessee Titans, whatever. NFC West is always going to be tough. Arizona could rise again. The Rams are going to be good. They're going to be back at it. Seattle's going to be tough, as well as the San Francisco 49ers defending NFC champions. So take that into account. Now, in terms of the Vikings finishing third in the division last year, allegedly, it only affects 3 games. Now, you have the Falcons coming into historic U.S. Bank Stadium, and they obviously got a big-time boost because of Kirk Cousins, as well as the change in coaching. Because I feel like if Arthur Smith was there, they would still be foreseen as very poop. Giants, whatever, and also everyone and their mom is on the Jets' ass this year because Aaron Rodgers is back. Also, I feel like Rodgers should stop doing podcast interviews and just get to the season, man. I still think that there's a chance that he doesn't play this year. I don't know. But either way, does this matter at the end of the day? Vikings projected as the fifth hardest schedule. We're not even to the draft. We're not even to training camp. No, it doesn't matter at all. Everything changes over. It's a year-to-year league. And the games that seem tough on paper on purpose right now could be very easy depending on the way that teams start as well as injuries, or games that seem like a cakewalk all of a sudden. Juggernauts. Like beginning of the season last year, and if you had the Texans on your schedule, it'd be like, woo, let's go. Rookie quarterback. CJ Stroud tested low on some of the cognitive tests. Let's go. And then Texans turned into beasts. Love it, man. I love D'Amico Ryans. That's right. Something I also love. So J.J. McCarthy. I feel like in a weird way, he's one of the most polarizing prospects in this year's class. And not because he is high and low, but because he's perfectly right here. All he does is win no matter what. All he did at Michigan was what they asked him to do. He was clutch on third down. He was clutch on the fourth quarter when he actually played, because a lot of times Michigan was blowing teams out, so he didn't play. And the question is, was Michigan a run-first team because they were trying to hide McCarthy, or was there a run-first team just because Jim Harbaugh is a crazy person who lives in an RV in Huntington Beach, which is fantastic. But McCarthy could be in play for the Vikings. Now, I've said my piece that I do like McCarthy, and I think that specifically in this environment and specifically with his coaching staff, he could certainly grow and show into a very quality NFL quarterback. That I think that he could be Brock Purdy plus. And before you criticize him, Brock Purdy went to the Super Bowl last year, and I think that he is a guy that could exceed the whole game manager allegations. I think that he certainly could beat them, but it is something that you're gambling on, and something that probably wouldn't happen for a couple of years down the line, and he could certainly benefit from sitting and marinating for a year. But long story longer, Purple Persuasion put this together. Per Adam Schefter, the Vikings are best positioned to move up for J.J. McCarthy. He also goes on to say that the Giants say they have other needs, but their actions tell another story. They put in a lot of work on quarterbacks. Now, the Giants have also put in a lot of work on Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., so maybe they're looking at a quarterback in round 2 or potentially trading into the back end of the first round. Now, I think I'm currently at the stage where I would trade up for Daniels. I would trade up for May. I would do a small trade up for McCarthy or Penix, right? And by small, I mean getting up to 7 or 8, right? Or maybe even 9 if the Bears want to do business in division, which they have 4 draft picks that maybe they'll want to, right? But in terms of, say it goes Williams, near certainty. I think Daniels goes 2. I think Drake May could go 3 to the Patriots, although I could see J.J. McCarthy's appeal to the Patriots and Bob Kraft. But say that happens. Say it goes Williams, Daniels, May. I'm not overly enthused about trading up 3 ones and change to get to 4 with the Cardinals or 5 with the Chargers. I'm just not, right? And whole thing about it too, it all depends on the Giants. If the Giants want to stick and pick and take McCarthy, I think let them in that spot. But I mean, the Giants have other needs. I mean, they could have their crack at a wide receiver 1 or 2. Well, not 1, but wide receiver 2 or 3, offensive tackle 2 or 3, maybe even offensive tackle 1, depending on what the Chargers do. So they have tons of options there. Now, if McCarthy gets by the Giants at 6, then I would be interested, because the trade up with the Titans wouldn't cost a ton. I mean, it may cost you 11-23, but you may get something back on 7. Same thing with the Falcons at 8, and moving up to 9 may not even cost you 23. And I would be interested in that. Now, you run the risk of the Broncos and the Raiders leapfrogging you, but I feel like that's a gamble that you should take. And if a team wants to move up for McCarthy that much, let them. And then potentially McCarthy could get to 11. I think that I've gone back and forth on this, because like a week ago I was just like, there's no chance he gets out of the top 6, but I feel like that there could be some steam that he does, and that's what's fun as well as very stupid this time of year. But again, three ones for McCarthy. I understand that if he's the guy, he's the guy, and also I know that people are professionals, but I always wonder if Schefter, a Michigan alum, and Rich Eisen, Michigan alum, aren't just like fluffing up McCarthy just a little bit because of the bias. I mean, because McCarthy was good in college. Obviously, he's a winner, but either way, I think the Vikings are in a very good position. Speaking of position, so the Vikings are oddly in a similar position as the Bills in 2018 when they ultimately traded up from 12 to 7 to go get Josh Allen. And Ari Marriott of My Sports Update put together a great tweet about this. Vikings draft situation is very familiar to what the Bills faced in 2018. I just said that. Bills had 12 and 22. Vikings have 11 and 23. Everyone knew Buffalo wanted a quarterback. 2018 had 5 first rounders. Baker went 1, Darnold went 3, Josh Allen went 7, Josh Rosen went 10, and Lamar went 32. And Lamar is the best of all of them. Well, except for Darnold. Everyone thought Buffalo would package both once to move up and get their quarterback. Instead, Buffalo stayed patient and traded up from 12 to 7 to select Josh Allen without giving up both first-round picks. They gave up 2 second-round picks, which the Vikings don't have, which is important. They let the draft come to them. It will be interesting to see if Minnesota takes a similar approach instead of overpaying. And I feel like if there's a run on quarterbacks early, and if it is 1, 2, 3, whether it's Williams, Daniels, May, Daniels, whatever. Now, if it's May or Daniels that falls out the top 3, go get him. I will say that. But say that McCarthy gets by the Patriots at 3 and then matriculates down the board. And I know the prevailing wisdom would be get to 4 and pay 11.23 in the future first rounder. But say if it's just a jump from 11 to 7. And I understand that the Bills had second-round picks. The Vikings currently do not. But they could form some hodgepodge of a package together, whether it's a swap of 23 for a second rounder from the other team, or the Vikings have 2 fourths, 2 fifths. The Vikings have that future third they could work with. So there's a lot of ways that they can go about it. But I feel like at the end of the day, if McCarthy is the one that falls, let the board come to them. That's where I'm currently at. Of course, my feelings could change tomorrow because that's what happens this time of year. Also happened this time of year. So Kevin O'Connell was on Paul Allen's podcast, and they were talking about the draft. And so KOC doesn't have a very good poker face. It's like when McAfee sprung the whole Penix thing on him, and he just like. But Alec Lucy Athletic, laughing emoji, laugh crying emoji. Quote. Maybe the ultimate. This is PA. Maybe the ultimate wild card is thrown into the draft, and all of a sudden you end up with Brock Bowers. And of course, Kevin O'Connell's got that smirk because he knows. And we pointed out if the Vikings want to go true BPA, and if Brock Bowers is there at 11, get him. I understand it would be unorthodox. It would be outside the box. But Hawkinson is up on blocks. They're going to take it very slow with him. Probably going to be on the PUP list to start. And Brock Bowers is more than just a tight end. Like, Brock Bowers is an open field dynamo. Like, I think his influence on the NFL is going to be insane. All right, so got great hands. He's a hands catcher. He's great after the catch. He's like a faster Travis Kelce. And he's not your traditional inline tight end. I mean, he's 6'3", he's 240. Like, he's probably would have ran a 4.5 if he would have been able to test. And I think that he could be a potential game changer weapon over the middle. I truly do believe that. And if the name of the game is getting good players in, guess what? You're running a lot of 2 tight end sets, or you're having Bowers move all over the park, match up against safeties and corners and linebackers, and he's a mismatch for all of them. And yeah, I understand. Well, you paid $21 million for Josh Oliver. Josh Oliver's a blocking tight end. That's fine. Let's go. Let's go all in on this. Go ahead. And I feel like Kevin O'Connell's got that smirk where they've talked about it. Guarantee they've talked about it, right? They wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't talk about Bowers. That's right, man. Speaking of doing their job, so Brian Flores is definitely doing his damn job, and it's unfortunate, but Brian Flores at his press conference on Tuesday said that he didn't get any head coaching interviews after turning the Vikings defense from one of the worst in the league, 31st, to one of the best into the teens. But it is what it is. Flores has a good idea that the lawsuit is going to be held against him, and I think that he is being frozen out by owners around the league. But he says he's happy where he's at. He be where your feet are is what he said at his press conference. And the Vikings got themselves a damn good defensive coordinator, and he's a true blue leader of men. And of course, like Aaron Henderson saying that, the Vikings are too nice. I think Flores is nice. No, Flores ain't a dick just to be a dick. Like, Flores is demanding, but is he buddy with his players? No. Like, Xavier Howard will tell you that. His foreign players will tell you that. But is he a pro's pro? And is he very demanding? And is he going to get the best out of his defense? Yes, absolutely is. Also, Harrison Phillips was at the dish feeding the media jackals yesterday too on Brian Flores. Quote, he's exceeded every expectation I had as a defensive coordinator. He's a master of defensive schemes, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I think the Vikings absolutely are blessed. Hashtag blessed to have Flores in the building because, Kevin O'Connell, I believe in him. We had doubts last year, but I mean that happens in season when you give away close games all the time. Even with your fourth string quarterback, you had all those games that you could have won. But I digress. But Vikings have a head coach of the offense. They have a head coach of the defense, and frankly, Matt Daniels is a head coach of special teams. I believe in Coach Hat. I think Coach Hat is going to get a shot to be a head coach someday as well. But it's kind of great. Also kind of great is the Clippers. So the Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, Microsoft, bajillion dollars, right? So the Clippers picked up tab on concessions in final game at Crypto Arena. Now, the Clippers are getting their own arena. And what's kind of cool is that they have, I forget what it's called, but they have a section of their arena where it can only be Clippers fans, which I don't know if that violates like antitrust rules or something like that, but they're going to go for it, man. But they're getting a new arena, moving out of the Lakers arena, which, sure. But So Ballmer picked up the tab on all the concessions. Now, did that include beer? Because that could be kind of spendy. But here's the thing. Sports owners are generally known to be very miserly. Like every single penny, every single nickel. And I to a degree, I understand, because most teams aren't owned just by a single individual. There's a majority shareholder in the NFL, but a lot of time there's small investors, and basically it adds up to shareholders. And what corporations do is that they vacuum up every single nickel because, we got to do it for the shareholders. We have to maximize value for the shareholders. And yes, I mean, there is a fiduciary responsibility, but also just bleeding the customers from every single penny and nickel and dime. It's not a good long-term. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, it's thinking short-term when you should be thinking long-term. And here's the thing too. Small things like this, I mean, it's a drop in the bucket in terms of the yearly P&L for the team. It's a rounding error, but this resonates. This builds goodwill with the fans. It really does. And owners would be surprised how little we want. If we get a free round, we get a free pretzel. He's like, oh, I'm going to cheer for this team forever. I'm going to renew my PSL at the new stadium. $50,000. But hey, remember when Steve Ballmer picked up our $14 beers and $12 hot dogs? That was nice of him. More teams should do this. That is all. Anyways, that is it. That is the Vikings Wednesday news dump. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.